The sky turned black at noon. At first, people thought it was a solar eclipse. Then someone screamed. It was not the moon. It was ships. Massive alien warships filled the sky above Earth. They were so large that cities fell into shadow. Lights turned on in the middle of the day. Phones stopped working. Satellites went silent. Every screen in every country flashed with one symbol, a burning golden dragon. Then a voice came, deep, calm, powerful. Send one human. Only one. The test begins. No explanation. No demands for money. No threat of attack. Just a test. Governments argued for hours. Military leaders prepared weapons. Missiles were aimed at the sky. Fighter jets waited for orders. But the ships did not fire. They simply waited. High above Earth, inside the largest ship, the Dragon Emperor sat on a throne made of black stone and glowing red crystals. His body was massive. His scales were dark like night. His golden eyes burned like stars. He did not speak. He only watched. Back on Mars, far away from Earth's sphere, Daniel Hayes was under a broken cargo ship. He was a simple mechanic in a small mining colony. His hands were dirty. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. He was trying to fix a fuel line that refused to seal. He had no idea that Earth was in danger. His radio crackled. Daniel Hayes, report to command center immediately. He frowned. I'm in the middle of. Now. The tone was different. Serious. Daniel wiped his hands and walked across the dusty colony floor. People were staring at the sky through glass domes. Even from Mars, the alien fleet was visible as tiny black shapes around Earth. Inside the command center, military officers stood stiff and silent. A general turned toward him. Are you Daniel Hayes? Yes, sir. The general studied him for a long moment. Congratulations. You have been selected. Selected for what? The general's face was pale. For humanity's survival. Daniel blinked. Sir, I just fix ships. Today, you represent Earth. Before he could ask more questions, soldiers moved him into a transport shuttle. Within minutes, he was launched toward orbit. Daniel stared at Earth through the window. The planet looked small under the shadow of alien ships. His heart beat faster. He was not a soldier. He was not a leader. Why him? Inside the alien flagship, dragon warriors lined the halls. They were tall, armored, with glowing eyes and sharp claws. Their armor looked ancient but powerful, marked with gold symbols. Daniel stepped out of the shuttle alone. No human weapons followed him. No backup, just silence. The air inside the ship was heavy and warm. The walls were black stone mixed with metal. Red light moved like fire inside cracks in the walls. A dragon general walked toward him. You are the chosen human. Daniel looked up at the creature, who was almost twice his height. I guess so. The general's eyes narrowed slightly. You will walk alone. Fine. They walked through long halls until they reached a massive chamber. The doors opened slowly. Inside was a throne room larger than a football stadium. And at the center sat the Dragon Emperor. Even Daniel stopped walking for a second. The Emperor was enormous. His wings were folded behind him like dark mountains. His horns curved back like crowns. His golden eyes locked onto Daniel instantly. The room was silent. Hundreds of dragon warriors watched from the sides. Daniel felt very small, but he did not kneel. The general spoke loudly. Human Daniel Hayes stands before the Dragon Emperor. He represents Earth. The Emperor did not move, did not blink. The silence became heavy. Daniel swallowed, but he forced himself to stand straight. He remembered something his father once told him. If you are scared, stand taller. The general stepped closer to Daniel. You will bow. Daniel looked at the throne, then back at the general. No! A sharp sound spread across the chamber. Dragon warriors tightened their grip on their weapons. The general's voice turned cold. You stand before the ruler of galaxies. Daniel took a slow breath. And I stand for my planet. The chamber became deadly quiet. For the first time, the Dragon Emperor moved. His massive head lowered slightly. His golden eyes studied Daniel more carefully now. You are not afraid? The Emperor's deep voice finally echoed. Daniel's heart was racing so hard he thought it might explode. But his voice came out steady. I am afraid. The dragon shifted. Daniel continued. But I won't kneel because I'm afraid. Silence again. The emperor's eyes burned brighter. Interesting, he said slowly. The general looked confused. Your Majesty, this human shows disrespect. Enough, the emperor said. The word alone shook the chamber. The emperor leaned forward slightly. The test begins. Daniel had no idea what the test was. He had no weapon, no armor, no plan, but he had one thing. He did not bow, and high above earth, billions of humans waited. The Dragon Emperor watched in silence, and the real trial was about to start. The throne room doors slammed shut. The sound echoed like thunder. Without another word, the Dragon Emperor lifted one claw. The floor beneath Daniel began to move. Stone plates shifted. The ground split open. A deep pit rose from below, forming a massive circular arena in the center of the chamber. Flames burned along its edges. The Dragon Emperor's voice echoed again. Courage without strength is useless. Daniel felt the heat rising around him. The Dragon General stepped forward. First test, survival. A gate on the other side of the arena slowly opened. Something heavy walked out. Each step shook the ground. It was not a normal dragon. This one was covered in battle scars. One horn was broken. Metal armor was fused into its scales. One eye glowed red like burning coal. The general announced loudly, "This is Kale Thor, conqueror of 7 worlds." The dragon warrior let out a low growl that vibrated in Daniel's chest. Daniel had nothing but his mechanic tool clipped to his belt. The emperor watched silently. Daniel looked around the arena. No exits, no weapons, just stone and fire. Kale Thor charged. Daniel barely jumped aside in time. The dragon's claw shattered the ground where he had been standing. Stone exploded into dust. Daniel rolled and stood quickly. His breathing was heavy already. He could not fight this creature. He could not win by strength. Kale Thor swung his tail. Daniel flew across the arena and hit the wall hard. Pain shot through his ribs. The dragons watching from above murmured, "Too weak. Humans are fragile." Daniel forced himself to stand again. Blood ran from his forehead into his eye. Kale Thor stepped closer. "Bow," the dragon warrior growled. "And it ends quickly." Daniel wiped the blood from his face. "No!" The dragon roared and attacked again. This time Daniel did not try to block. He ran toward the dragon instead. The chamber gasped. At the last second, Daniel slid under the dragon's body and reached for something he noticed earlier. A damaged metal plate stuck between Kale Thor's scales near his side. When the dragon turned, it roared in pain. Daniel had not attacked the dragon. He had pulled out the sharp, broken metal that had been cutting into its flesh. Kale Thor staggered. The arena went silent. Daniel stepped back slowly, breathing hard. "I'm not your enemy," he said. The dragon warrior looked confused. The red glow in its eye flickered. Daniel pointed at the wound. "You've been fighting with that inside you. Anyone would go mad." The dragon growled, but this time was not anger. It was pain. Above them, the general looked angry. He was told to fight, but the emperor raised one claw again. Silence returned. Kale Thor slowly lowered his head. For a moment, everyone thought he would crush the human. Instead, the dragon stepped back. The arena flames lowered. Daniel could barely stand now. His ribs felt broken. His hands were shaking. He had not defeated the dragon. He had not overpowered him. He had understood him. The Dragon Emperor finally spoke. "You refuse to dominate." Daniel looked up. "I fix broken things," he said quietly. "That's what I do." The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed slightly. "Strength is not always in the claw." The Dragon General stepped forward angrily. This human disobeyed the nature of the test. The Emperor's voice turned colder. "No." He revealed it. The entire chamber froze. Daniel thought it was over. He thought he had passed. But then the Emperor added, "This was only the beginning." The floor beneath Daniel shifted again. Chains rose from the ground. The arena darkened. The Emperor's eyes burned brighter than before. "You have shown mercy," the Emperor said slowly. "Now we test your loyalty." The far wall of the chamber opened, and what Daniel saw made his blood run cold. A group of humans, captured, kneeling. Among them, someone he recognized. His younger sister, alive, but terrified. The general smiled slightly. Second test, he said. Choose. The chamber filled with heavy silence. And Daniel realized something terrible. The first fight had not been the real test. This was to be continued. The chains around Daniel's wrists tightened. The arena lights dimmed. Only two things were bright now: the Dragon Emperor's golden eyes and the fear on the faces of the captured humans. Among them, his younger sister, Emma. Her hands were tied. Her face was pale. But when she saw Daniel, she tried to sit straight. She did not cry. That hurt more. The dragon general stepped forward. Second test, he said calmly. Loyalty to blood or loyalty to species? The chamber felt colder. Daniel's heart pounded in his ears. What do you mean? He asked. The general raised one claw. A massive screen behind the throne lit up. Earth appeared, under the shadow of dragon warships. One order, the general said, and our fleet will withdraw. The chamber went silent. Refuse, the general continued, and Earth burns. Daniel's breath stopped. The general pointed toward Emma. There is another option. A dragon guard stepped behind her, blade glowing. If you swear loyalty to the Dragon Empire, Earth will survive. Daniel stared at him. And them? He asked quietly. The general's voice did not change. They will not. The meaning was clear. Betray Earth, save billions but lose his sister. Or protect his sister and watch Earth burn. The Emperor remained silent. Watching. Testing. Daniel's mind raced. This was not about strength. This was not about mercy. This was about sacrifice. Emma's eyes met his. She shook her head slightly. No. She knew what the choice meant. Daniel felt something inside him twist. He looked up at the Emperor. You said this was a test, Daniel said slowly. It is, the Emperor replied. Then why does it feel like a trap? A low murmur spread through the dragons. The general stepped closer. Answer. Now. The blade near Emma's throat glowed brighter. Daniel closed his eyes for 1 second. He remembered their childhood, fixing old machines in their father's garage. Emma laughing when he failed. Her telling him once, you always find another way. Another way. Daniel opened his eyes. There's always another way, he said quietly. The general growled. There is no third choice. Daniel looked straight at the Emperor. Yes, there is. Silence. Daniel took a step forward, chains dragging behind him. You think power means forcing someone into an impossible choice, he said. You think loyalty is proven through fear. The chamber tensed. But if your empire needs threats to survive, Daniel continued, voice steady, then it is already weak. Gasps echoed across the hall. The general roared. Insolence. Flames burst along the arena walls. Emma squeezed her eyes shut. But the Emperor raised one claw. Everything froze. The flames stopped midair. Even the guards stopped moving. Time itself felt paused. The Dragon Emperor slowly stood from his throne. The ground trembled. He walked down toward Daniel. Each step heavy, controlled, ancient. He stopped only a few feet away. You speak boldly for someone in chains, the Emperor said. Daniel met his burning gaze. You put them in chains, Daniel answered. Not me. The Emperor's eyes flickered slightly. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the Emperor spoke again. If you refuse to choose, then you choose both to die. Daniel did not look away. Then kill me first. The entire chamber exploded in whispers. The general looked stunned. Your Majesty, this human challenges your authority. But Daniel kept speaking. You want a loyalty? He said. Here it is. I won't trade lives like coins. Not my sister. Not my planet. His voice was not loud, but it was firm. If Earth survives by becoming your servant, then it doesn't survive at all. Emma stared at him, not in fear, in pride. The Emperor's golden eyes dimmed slightly. Something changed in the room. Not anger, not rage, something deeper. The Emperor turned his head slightly toward the general. Release them. The general froze. My Emperor. Release them. The command shook the chamber like thunder. The chains around the humans fell away. The blade near Emma's throat powered down. Daniel's own chains dropped to the ground. He almost collapsed, but forced himself to stand. The Emperor looked down at him. You were correct. The chamber fell silent again. This was a trap. The general stepped back in shock. The emperor's voice grew colder. A ruler who demands blind loyalty rules only slaves. He turned fully toward Daniel. You were meant to break. Daniel's breathing was heavy. I don't break easy. The emperor studied him carefully. You failed the first test of strength. You passed the second test of mercy. And now, the emperor paused. You have passed the test of sacrifice. The dragon warriors looked confused. The general looked furious. But the emperor's decision was final. Daniel thought it was over. But then the emperor added one more sentence. There remains one final truth you must face. The chamber doors opened again. Darkness waited beyond them, and something ancient moved inside it. Something far more dangerous than dragons. The real reason for the test. The chamber doors did not just open. They cracked, like something on the other side was pushing. A cold wind rushed into the throne room. Not normal air, not heat. Cold, ancient, wrong. Even the dragon warriors stepped back. The dragon emperor did not move, but his eyes were no longer burning gold. They were sharp, focused. Bring him forward, the emperor commanded. Daniel walked slowly toward the open darkness. The air felt heavy in his lungs. Inside the massive chamber beyond the doors, the walls were not stone. They were scarred, burned, melted. Something had fought here, and something had survived. In the center of the darkness floated a massive object. Black, not metal, not organic. It looked like a piece of broken space itself, twisted and shifting like smoke trapped in glass. Daniel felt fear for the first time since arriving. Not fear of dragons. Fear of that. The dragon general spoke quietly now, without arrogance. It has no name in your language. The emperor's voice echoed deeper than before. We call it the silence. The object pulsed, and suddenly Daniel heard something. Not a sound, a whisper inside his mind. Cold, empty, hungry. He stepped back. What is it? He asked. The emperor's wings shifted slightly. It is what destroyed the first dragon empire. The entire chamber froze. Daniel turned sharply. What? The emperor continued. Long before humans built cities, long before your sun cooled, we ruled thousands of systems. His voice did not hold pride. It held memory. We believed we were eternal. The black object pulsed again, and then it came. Suddenly, the air filled with projections, star systems going dark. Dragon fleets shattered, planets torn apart without fire, without explosions, just erased. The silence moved through galaxies like a disease. Not conquering, deleting. It feeds on dominance, the emperor said quietly. On fear, on empires that demand submission. Daniel's mind raced. So the tests. Yes, the emperor said. We search for something we lost. The general lowered his head. We search for restraint. The silence pulsed stronger. The whisper in Daniel's mind grew louder. It was not speaking words. It was pressing, testing. Daniel felt anger rising inside him. Fear, rage. And as those emotions grew, the black object brightened. The emperor's eyes narrowed. Do you see now? Daniel forced himself to breathe slower. The whisper became weaker. The object dimmed slightly. The emperor stepped closer to it. For centuries we tried to destroy it with strength. The general's voice was tight. We failed. The emperor looked at Daniel. It grows stronger near tyrants, near conquerors, near rulers who break others. Daniel understood. If you invade Earth, it awakens fully, the emperor finished. Silence filled the chamber again. The emperor turned fully toward Daniel. We did not come to conquer your world. We came to see if it would survive us. Daniel stared at the floating darkness. So the tests weren't about control. They were about balance, the emperor replied. Suddenly the silence pulsed violently. The walls shook. Dragon warriors fell to one knee. The whisper inside Daniel's mind screamed. Images flashed, earth burning, Emma dying, the emperor kneeling, humanity enslaved. The silence was feeding on fear again. The emperor roared, not in anger, in command. Hold your minds. Golden energy flared around him. Dragon warriors focused, controlling their emotions. The silence dimmed slightly, but then its surface cracked. A thin black tendril shot outward. It moved fast, straight toward Daniel. Before anyone could react, the tendril touched his chest. Pain exploded through him. He dropped to his knees. Visions flooded his mind. He saw himself kneeling before the Emperor, saw himself ruling beside him, saw himself commanding dragon fleets. Power. Unlimited power. The whisper changed tone. It was offering. Daniel's hands trembled. He could feel it. Strength beyond imagination. The ability to protect Earth forever. All he had to do was dominate. The Emperor watched closely, not interfering, testing. Daniel's breathing became uneven. The darkness climbed up his arm like living smoke. The general prepared to strike. Your Majesty. No, the Emperor said sharply. This is the final test. Daniel's thoughts raced. He could end Earth's fear. He could end all threats. He could become something more than human. The whisper became clear. Rule. His eyes flickered. For a moment, the black energy glowed brighter. The chamber trembled. Dragon warriors braced for destruction. Emma screamed his name. Daniel closed his eyes. He remembered something simple. His father's garage. Grease on his hands. Fixing broken things. He was not a ruler. He was not a conqueror. He was a mechanic. He fixed what was broken. Slowly, Daniel lowered his head. I don't want power, he whispered. The darkness paused. I don't want to rule anyone. The tendril tightened. Pain surged again. But Daniel forced himself to say it louder. I choose partnership. The chamber froze. The silence flickered violently. Daniel lifted his head and looked straight at the black mass. You don't scare me, he said quietly, and you don't control me. The darkness cracked. Light burst through its surface like breaking glass. The whisper screamed. The tendril shattered into dust. The entire object began collapsing inward. Dragon warriors shielded their eyes. The Emperor's golden aura flared brighter. With one final pulse, the silence imploded into a small spark of fading black and disappeared. Complete silence filled the chamber. No whispers, no fear, just breath. Daniel collapsed fully this time. The Emperor stepped forward and caught him before he hit the ground. For the first time, the Dragon Emperor spoke not as a ruler, but as an equal. You did what we could not. The general lowered himself fully to the ground. The throne room felt different now. Lighter. The Emperor looked at Daniel carefully. You have ended a war older than your species. Daniel looked up weakly. I just refuse to play its game. The Emperor nodded slowly. And that, he said, is why humans must never kneel. Outside, above Earth, the dragon warships powered down completely. But something had changed. The galaxy had shifted. And in that moment, the Dragon Empire was no longer the strongest power in space. Balance had returned. But balance always attracts attention. Far beyond their galaxy, something else noticed. The silence was gone. But the galaxy was not quiet. Inside the throne chamber, the air felt lighter, yet heavier at the same time. Daniel was still on one knee, breathing hard. The black mark on his chest slowly faded, leaving only a faint scar. The Dragon Emperor stood beside him. Not above him, beside him. Across the chamber, dragon warriors remained silent. No one celebrated. No one spoke. Because something had changed, and they all felt it. Suddenly, every dragon soldier's armor lit up with warning signals. Red symbols flashed across the chamber walls. The general stepped forward quickly. My Emperor, long-range scanners are detecting movement. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. From where? Beyond the outer rim. The chamber's ceiling shifted into a projection of deep space. What appeared made even the ancient dragons uneasy. Hundreds of distortions in space. Not ships, not fleets, rips. Something was tearing open reality itself. Daniel slowly stood up. More of them, he asked quietly. The general's voice was tight. No, not the silence. The Emperor's wings slowly unfolded. Observers. Daniel looked confused. Observers of what? The Emperor's voice lowered. Of power shifts. The distortions grew larger. And from inside them, shapes began to move. Massive silhouettes. Not dragons. Not machines. Something older. The general spoke carefully. They're the outer sovereigns. Daniel swallowed. And they don't look friendly. The Emperor did not blink. They do not attack weakness. He looked at Daniel. They challenge equality. One of the distortions opened wider. A giant being stepped halfway through space itself. It did not have scales. It did not have wings. It was made of glowing white energy and shifting armor of stars. Its voice echoed directly into every mind in the chamber. You have broken the natural order. Daniel felt pressure in his skull again. But this time he did not kneel. The being continued. The dragons were rulers. The silence was correction. Balance has been disturbed. The emperor stepped forward. No, balance has been restored. The white entity turned its focus to Daniel. A mortal ended what immortals could not. Daniel's heart pounded. Yes, he said, and he chose restraint. The entity's energy flickered. Restraint spreads. Restraint weakens hierarchy. Daniel finally understood. They did not want balance. They wanted dominant cycles to continue. Empires rise. Empires fall. Power replaces power. But Daniel had broken that pattern. The being extended a massive arm of light. Human, join us. Guide the next order. Visions flooded Daniel's mind. A galaxy ruled by councils of pure energy. No wars. No chaos. Perfect control. But control was still control. Daniel took a slow breath. No. The chamber went silent again. The entity's glow intensified. You refuse ascension? Daniel shook his head. I refuse control. The emperor's golden aura flared slightly. The white being's voice turned colder. Then the cycle restarts. The distortions began widening. The dragon fleet outside powered up again. Weapons locked. Earth trembled under distant gravitational waves. Daniel stepped forward. Not toward the emperor. Not toward the dragons. Toward the being of light. You said balance was disturbed, Daniel said calmly. Yes. Then watch. Daniel turned and extended his hand toward the dragon emperor. The entire chamber froze. The emperor looked at him. Daniel did not kneel. He did not bow. He simply offered partnership. After one long second, the dragon emperor lowered his massive claw and gently placed it against Daniel's hand. Equal height, equal stance, no throne between them. The chamber floor shifted. The throne behind them cracked, then shattered. The symbol of absolute rule collapsed into dust. Dragon warriors stared in shock. The emperor spoke loudly. There is no throne. He turned to his people. There is no ruler above all. The general slowly lowered his weapon. The white entity flickered violently. This defies structure. Daniel looked up at it. No, he said calmly. It creates responsibility. Suddenly, something impossible happened. The distortions in space began to shrink. The outer sovereign's light dimmed slightly. The being stepped back. Hierarchy dissolves instability, it said slowly. The emperor answered. No, shared strength does. The being of light studied them both. Then slowly, it withdrew. The rips in space sealed. The pressure vanished. Silence returned. Real silence. The dragon emperor looked at Daniel. You could have ruled galaxies. Daniel smiled weakly. I can barely fix a fuel line. For the first time, a low laugh came from the emperor. Deep, genuine. Across the galaxy, a message was sent. Not a threat, not a demand, a declaration. The Dragon Empire no longer conquers. We stand beside. On Earth, the shadows lifted completely. Warships repositioned, not as invaders, as guardians. Emma stepped forward and hugged Daniel tightly. You're insane, she whispered. He smiled. Probably. The emperor turned toward the shattered throne. History will remember this day. Daniel looked at him. Let's hope they remember the lesson. The emperor nodded slowly. Power is not proven by control. It is proven by choice. High above Earth, the dragon fleet formed a protective ring. Not rulers, not masters, allies. And across the stars, a new rumor spread. The species that refused to kneel had changed the throne itself. And the dragon emperor never again watched in silence. Because from that day forward, he listened.